Hey y'all, Disney World is not the same place it was before, like a year, 2 years, or even a month ago. And why does that matter? Because it could majorly impact your upcoming return to the parks. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. We're talking about what things just aren't true about Disney World anymore. Some of these things might make you nostalgic for what the parks once were, but our main goal today is to show you how you can still plan a successful trip using what the parks offer us now. So let's go through some of these former facts that just aren't true anymore. First up, OffSeason. Who's she? Right, so before, one of our favorite planning tips to talk about was down season time, value season time. Sure, Disney World crowds were jam-packed during spring break, summer, and holidays, but that was to be expected. But if overcrowded parks and long ride lines were something that kept people from visiting, we could always recommend visiting during off-season. Off-seasons were the least busy times to visit Disney World during the year and often provided visitors with the lowest prices for hotel stays and park ticket deals. In the past, these downtimes included the starting winter months, January and February, and those kick off to the new school year months, August and September. But now, 2022 has been the first year that we've seen January and February crowds consistently prove us wrong about this once historic off-season. We kept thinking, boy, these New Year's crowds sure are lingering longer than they used to, but they'll cap off eventually, right? No, they sure didn't. Now, a good chunk of the reason for these abnormally high crowd levels are pent-up vacationers, what some are calling revenge travelers, who had trips canceled or postponed during 2020 and 2021. But that being said, we're pretty cautious nowadays about claiming any upcoming seasons as off-seasons until we see with our own eyeballs that the parks are finally catching a break and becoming less people-y. So what are you going to do about this? Well, Disney still recognizes some seasons as slower than the norm, meaning you should be able to find less expensive park ticket prices during certain times of the year. Before you pay for a theme park ticket on the Disney World website, check out the ranges on the price calendar. You're going to be able to scroll through each of the months this year and find the more affordable options for you and your family. The cheapest days we're still finding so far range throughout September during the week at $109 per ticket, but prices do jump up if you book on the weekends. But even when you see prices slightly dip for certain days of the year, it's best not to assume that those are going to be the low crowd days. Crowds are unpredictable right now, so for the time being, just go into your trip knowing it's going to be busy. And if it just so happens to be not busy, then that's a happy accident. Okay, this point's going to start bleeding into the second point, so let's move right on to that. And that's only the early birds get the worm. So before, if you took an impromptu trip to Disney World, it was a spontaneous, wanderlust urge. You pick a flight for the weekend, you hop into the parks, you have a merry old time until it's time to go back to work. And then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, right? Yeah, you know how the parks are pretty packed out right now? Well, planning ahead is essential if you want to do pretty much anything. Unless you're just planning and roaming around the Disney Springs shopping district, and even then, if you want to eat at a nice sit-down meal at the Springs, you're going to have to make reservations ahead of time. If you don't plan ahead for a Disney World trip and try to do something a little more spontaneous, you can end up struggling to find hotel availability. Believe me, I've talked about this before on the channel. Hotels are scarce last minute, park pass reservation availability, and dining availability, because everything could be booked up solid. I'm seeing it more and more and more often right now. So what should you do? If you want to guarantee a smooth sailing Disney World vacation, it's best to determine when you're going to go ahead of time in order to lock in all those reservations. I know, we like spontaneity. We like to fly by the seat of our pants and the skin of our teeth and all of that, and that makes a Disney World trip more fun. But right now, if there's anything you really want to make sure you get to do, like even stay in a hotel, you gotta plan ahead. So for hotels, the further out you can book, the better. Lately, it's getting pretty tricky to find Disney World hotels for specific months during a specific amount of time, so make sure you've got plan B, C, and D in your back pocket just in case. This especially goes for those swanky DVC villas. If you're struggling to find a villa for an extended amount of time, try narrowing the amount of days you're wanting to stay and see if you can find any availability that way. It might be worth your while to do a split stay for 2 different hotels, since breaking up the amount of days in a hotel seems to provide a little more availability recently than trying to find one hotel available for a whole week. And the sooner you can book those park pass reservations, the better as well. I think a good rule of thumb for park pass reservations is probably at least 2 months in advance, but I might even reserve sooner than that if you're planning on going during a holiday weekend or predicted jam-packed weekend like 4th of July or the Run Disney events. As far as dining reservations go, gotta start booking those 60 days before your trip. But if you're nostalgic for the times of spontaneity, there's still a little room for improvisation, especially when it comes to dining and especially when it comes to those less popular restaurants. On the day of your visit, go to the My Disney Experience app and see what restaurants are available for you to jump in a walk-up wait list for. Should you rely on this method for those must-do restaurants? Absolutely not, but it is fun to see what restaurants you can hit up at the time of your visit. By the way, the Fire Nation didn't actually attack. That's just an Avatar Airbender reference. Okay, next on our list are those overhauled hotels. Okay, speaking of hotels, let's talk about the Disney World resorts for just a sec here. When Magic Kingdom first opened in 1971, the only hotels available were Contemporary and Polynesian, and of course Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds. And in 1991, Disney World released its first ever Disney Vacation Club resort, which was creatively enough called the Disney Vacation Club Resort, until it was later renamed to Old Key West. So now, fast forward to 2022, we got lots of hotel options to choose from, ranging from value to moderate to deluxe to DVC. Not only that, but Disney's been whistling while they work as they spruce up a lot of these Disney hotels that were in major need of some good old TLC. So you've got lots of hotels and lots of room renovations going on. So what shiny new options are going to be available for you? On March 31st, Disney's All-Star Resort reopened with some spit shine action. The whole resort's received a much needed paint job and overall sprucing to make it look more updated and appealing. Last year, Disney's Contemporary Resort and Disney's Polynesian Village Resort upped their A-games with their room designs by adding familiar faces to their remodels. The Polynesian has rooms inspired by Moana, and the Contemporary has rooms inspired by The Incredibles. But the Polynesian isn't done with the updates yet. Recently, Disney announced that the Polynesian Village Resort would be adding a lot of new villas projected to open in late 2024. Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa is also undergoing a major DVC transformation. Disney's remodeling the Big Pine Key building, Building 9, of Grand Floridian to change the rooms there into 200 Disney Vacation Club villas. These new rooms will have subtle decor influenced by Mary Poppins Returns. That's the Emily Blunt version. The new villas will open for DVC members this summer, but DVC members can start booking their stays today. And then there's the recent announcement that we just got about Disney's Boardwalk Inn. Over the next couple of years, Disney will be working to renovate this vintage-styled resort into something more updated, which means a new restaurant, a new sandwich shop, and a new coffee shop, a refreshed lobby, and remodeled guest rooms. And that's not all. Disney's constantly polishing up their hotels to make them look vacation-worthy, which is great and all, but if your upcoming vacation to one of these hotels happens to coincide with one of their renovation projects, you just might find yourself staying at a place that's under construction, which can take you out of the magic. Before you book your stay in any of the Disney World resorts, double-check the Disney World website page for your resort and make sure no upcoming projects are being scheduled around the time of your visit. Any construction updates should be noted in orange font at the top of the page, and then you can make your own judgment call of whether or not you're willing to deal with that construction during your vacation. Okay, next on our list of big changes, things that just aren't true about Disney World anymore. Remember when perks and benefits were free? Yeah, that's all in the past. So before, do you remember that popular meme that was going around back when Once Upon a Time was still on air? It featured Rumpelstiltskin saying, "All magic comes with a price." And people kept going, "OMG, that's me paying for a Disney World trip." Yeah, that meme's not funny anymore. Let's think back for a second on what Disney World perks were like before 2020. Well, Disney's Magical Express took us from the Orlando International Airport to our hotel without paying extra for a seat aboard the bus. We used to be able to have access to extra magic hours, which included both early and late theme park entry, without the evening hours being a benefit for deluxe resort guests only. We could have select magic bands sent to our home before our trip for free, and of course fast passes to help us bypass the main lines of our favorite rides were the cherry on top of buying a theme park ticket and didn't cost any extra. Launch forward to today, though the perks of what I just listed off still exist for guests in some way, shape, or form, the way to access these benefits comes at some rather steep prices now. Disney's Magical Express retired and was replaced by the Mears Connect and Sunshine Flyer shuttle services, which are available for an extra cost. Extra magic hours have split into early theme park entry and extended evening hours, with the latter being available for deluxe resort guests only. You gotta pay for magic bands no matter what now, if you're wanting a new one that is, and fast passes are no more, but you can still bypass giant queue lines with the help of Disney Genie Plus and individual attraction selections, which are, again, an extra cost. So what are we going to do about this? If you squint your eyes and tilt your head just right, you can still see some free Disney World benefits lying around here somewhere. We actually have a whole video about the 30 things that still come complimentary alongside your Disney World vacation that you can check out after this to, lighten the mood a little bit, right? But in terms of these extra cost benefits, it's always best to see if they're actually going to be worth the price in the end for you. When it comes to airport transportation, decide which option will be more affordable and beneficial for you. A ride aboard the Mears Express or being picked up by a rideshare service like Uber or Lyft. Maybe it's time to start renting a car. And hey, there's always taxis too, right? And do you think you're going to get your money's worth from choosing a deluxe resort for those select extended evenings at the parks? Or do you think you can accomplish all you want to with the early entry benefit alone? That's a number crunch that you got to do now. Do you need a new Magic Band, or are you better off reusing one you've purchased in the past? Or maybe you'd rather keep hold of all your park tickets with a resort key card digitally, thanks to Disney's Magic Mobile, which won't cost a dime extra. And you can really weigh the pros and cons of whether you should invest in the premium side of the Disney Genie app by watching our videos covering all the positives and negatives of that service. We've been in the parks every single day using Disney Genie, seeing when it's best to use it, seeing which parks you don't really need to buy it for, and we've got all those tips for you in those videos. And in the meantime, you can always use Disney Genie's free portion of the app, and that might help you navigate some crowds throughout the day. Backtracking to one of my previous points, it all becomes about how you plan ahead for these things. That way, you know which benefits you want to squeeze into your budget and which ones you can leave out. Okay, next on our list of things that just aren't true about Disney World anymore, value. Yeah, we keep using that word. Maybe we don't know what it means. Okay, so do me a favor, will ya? Whenever you hear me talk about value resorts from here on out, just assume I'm putting air quotes around the word. According to the Disney World website, a value resort in 2011 cost around $82 to $365 per night. Now, prices range from $123 to $856 per night. That's a substantial price increase on the high end of that range, and those rooms haven't gotten any bigger. So if a family of 2 adults and 2 kids were to book a 3-night stay from July 8th to July 11th at Disney's All-Star Music Resort, which is one of Disney's projected cheapest places to stay on property, they'd be looking to spend $186 per night for a standard room, $206 per night for a preferred room, or $409 per night for a family suite. For the same conditions over at Disney's Pop Century Resort, standard rooms currently range in price between $227 and $233. Preferred rooms are between $245 and $254 per night. And over at Disney's Art of Animation, the standard Little Mermaid room is around $268 per night, and Cars and Lion King family suites are $558 per night, and the Finding Nemo family suite is a whopping $604 per night. So let's compare those exact same dates to a few of Disney World's Good Neighbor hotels. A newly renovated guest room with 2 queen-size beds at Courtyard by Marriott Lake Buena Vista at Vista Center costs about $160 per night, while a suite costs around $210 per night. A family room with 2 queen beds and a sofa bed, plus a kid's bunk bed at Hyatt Place Orlando, costs around $202 per night, and a 2-bedroom family suite at Melia Orlando is around $290 per night during their discounted times. All this to say, Disney World hotels are not your only option. If you're looking for a less expensive stay, or if you're looking for a stay that's going to give you more space for the cost, it might be good to look into Disney's Good Neighbor hotels or other nearby resorts. That being said, not all Good Neighbor hotels will provide you with the same park benefits that the Disney-owned resorts do. So double check to make sure your hotel's going to be compatible with complimentary transportation to the parks and or those early theme park entry benefits before you book. If those are perks that are important to you, make sure your hotel's going to have them. If you can't bear the thought of not staying directly in the Disney bubble during your vacation, then always look to see if Disney's currently offering an online discount for one of their resort stays on their website. Even if you've already booked your hotel and you find a discount later on that you want to apply, you can modify your reservations by signing into your My Disney Experience account, where you can click Modify Reservation and see if you can get the discounted room instead. Or you can call and get them modified at 407-934-7639. Just make sure to pencil that call into your day, because you might be on hold for a bit. Another thing that's just not true about Disney World anymore, you don't have to go to the parks to satisfy certain Disney snack cravings. Okay, before, how many times have you come home from a Disney World trip and said, I could really use a Mickey Premium Bar or a Joffrey's coffee, or maybe you can't stop thinking about that Dole Whip or that churro, that cheese-filled pretzel? Yeah, well, not to be a walking, talking advertisement, but now we know enough about those Disney products, quote-unquote Disney products, that we know you can have your favorite Disney World treats at home. As it turns out, lots of those popular Disney World treats are out there lingering outside the parks and in the wild. And by the wild, I mean your neighborhood grocery store. So here's a quick list of popular Disney World snacks and the other locations we've seen them outside the parks. 50th anniversary premium bars have been spotted in the ice cream freezer section of the Buc-ee's gas stations, while those full 6-count boxes of standard Mickey premium bars, which are a little different than the ones in the parks, can usually be found nowadays in the freezer section of your local big box and grocery stores. Same goes for those Mickey ice cream sandwiches too. Some seasonal flavors of Joffrey's coffee have been found around shops like Home Goods, and of course, you can just order Joffrey's coffee online, right? Okay. Every now and then, we've seen authentic Dole Whips featured at different frozen yogurt shops like Menchie's if you have one of those locations nearby, and those limited cream cheese pretzels are often available at Wawa convenience stores. Over at the Kroger grocery stores, we've been able to find those mini mango pies that we love tremendously from the Yak and Yeti Local Foods Cafe, and those famous churros. Yeah, just scout out the Tio Pepe brand at shops like Smart and Final. It's the same ones. But let's not forget that bizarre time a couple of years back when we saw thermal detonator soda bottles, usually found in Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, show up at Tate's, a local grocery store in Alabama. Granted, that's not the norm, and that was probably for pandemic-based reasons, but it just goes to show you never know where your favorite Disney World things are going to show up outside the parks. And the best part about tracking down these snacks in your hometown, they're going to be cheaper than what Disney's asking for them, so you're welcome. Okay, next thing that just is not true about Disney World anymore. Sorry, we can't answer the phone right now. We're using it constantly for vacation. Okay, so before, you did not need your phone in Walt Disney World. When the parks opened, there was no social media we needed to pose for, no PhotoPass photos, no Apple wallets, no Genie Plus, none of that, right? There was no mobile ordering, there was no online dining reservations. Even when I first started this blog, none of that stuff existed. So now we know that Disney World is very, very, very smartphone or smart device oriented. Now, I'm not calling this a positive or a negative development, mainly because I've heard it both ways. On one hand, some people really get put off by the idea of paying a bunch of money for the Disney parks only to feel like they have to be on their phones all day to keep a close eye on their reservations and itineraries, to mobile order, to make Disney Genie Plus reservations, etc. On the other hand, some people really enjoy the convenience that phones have brought to planning a Disney World trip. Everything is conveniently located in one central location, resting in the palm of your hand. So how do you get the most value out of this? Well, wherever you stand on the side of this equation, one thing's for certain. The use of phones to get you through your day is basically essential when it comes to planning a Disney World vacation right now. Make sure you download the My Disney Experience app before your trip, which is still free, miraculously. And if you've never navigated the service before, then look over all the gadgets and gizmos on the app to get a good idea of how it all works before you go. There's also a post on the DFB website guiding you through all the different My Disney Experience functions that I'll link in the description below if you're looking for a trusty tutorial to use. Also, make sure that you bring portable chargers in your park bag. Phone batteries drain really, really quickly in Disney World, so it's best to have something to juice up your device while you're on the go. If you forget to bring a portable battery, you can pick one up for around $30 at one of the fuel rod kiosks located around the parks. And it's a good idea to make sure multiple people in your group have the My Disney Experience app downloaded with all the group's information put into their phones just in case. Not everyone in your group has to be on the My Disney Experience app throughout the day, but it's best to link everyone beforehand so one person can make reservations for everybody. Okay, so Disney World was never meant to remain stagnant, but that doesn't mean the changes don't throw us off during the planning process time and again. And you know what else? These changes can't stop coming and they won't stop coming. Smash Mouth, anyone? Okay, so if you want to be on top of the Disney truths that are morphing or just flat out becoming obsolete, make sure to stick with us. We cover all these types of changes and more on our weekly latest news updates, as well as on continuous updates on our website and in our DFB newsletter, which is totally free for you. As always, you can sign up for it in the description below. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. I know all of these things are very confusing and they can also get very frustrating. So our goal, as always, is to make sure that you have all the information you need to make it easy to plan a trip to Walt Disney World and to make sure you get the best bang for your buck while you're doing it. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.